So, well, like this time last year, I signed to play the Masters. So that was kind of a big deal because it was like a small Christian college close to home, and I got to play soccer. So that was like kind of like my dream. I wanted to play soccer when I came to college, and um, so a while ago, actually, my sister went to Israel when she was in high school, and I remember when that happened, everyone was like, "Are you gonna go do something in another country? Are you gonna go like serve another country?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to. Like, I really want to," but I kind of noticed like I don't have any time to go visit another country. Like, I'm in high school, I do club, I do high school sports, and then after that I'll be doing college sports. So I was like, I probably won't get a chance to go do any missions work or anything. But when I signed here, the next thing he said was, "Okay, in August next year we're going to Haiti." And I was like, "Haiti? We're going to Haiti? Of all places?" I was like, "Okay, what? Okay, like that'll be fun." And so we left the last week of July, and we went for 16 days, and we just it was a cool experience to like bond with all the girls before season started, to be in another country. I had no communication with my family at all. I didn't have my phone. I think I got a phone call to them once, and it was the day before my birthday that was there. So the first week we were in Fort Liberty, which is a super small city in Haiti, or town in Haiti. We were with the McCormick family, and Matt McCormick lives there with his 4 kids and wife, and they moved from somewhere in the U.S. They moved from the U.S. here to Haiti to do missions work, and they're part of the Doulos group, and they just do work there, and their whole mission is don't go out and give a man a fish and then leave, but go out and teach him how to fish and teach him how to cook it so that he can teach the others in the village how to do it. So while we were there, we had to build a fence around his compound, and it was about as big as a football field, like making the whole fence. So we had to dig the holes for the fence, we had to make the cement, we had to hold the poles, pour the cement, let it dry, then we had to do the actual fencing, and that was like the hardest week of our lives. Like we were just doing like horrible labor work, but the whole time we were doing it, like we were all just like so happy because we were all doing it together, and we were all suffering together in a way. And the whole thing was like, "Okay guys, one more hole, just get one more hole done and we can go get a water, or one more hole and you can go get a sandwich." So when season started, there'd be 2 minutes left in the game, and we just scream out, "One more hole. You just got one more hole, guys. Like, you can do it. Like, this is nothing compared to the humidity and heat in Haiti." So that's what we did the first week. And then the second week we went to to Port-au-Prince, and we stayed at like a compound where they help out, where Port-au-Prince was hit really bad with the earthquake, is still suffering a lot from that. So we helped out a church there. We made pews for a church there. They were sitting on like these wooden, just plywood that was sitting on top of bricks. And you can imagine like how painful that would be sitting on something like that without a backrest. So we made, I think 24 pews, and we cut them, we measured them, we like screwed them together, then we finished them. So that was really cool because afterwards they had a night service, and the congregation came in. They had no idea that it was happening, and they came in and they saw them, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, like you guys did this in how long?" Like I think we did it in like 4 hours maybe, and it like just to see their smiles on their faces was really cool. And then we got to play against 3 of the national teams that play in Haiti. So that was really fun to just like bond with other people over one common sport. But the cool thing about that was at the end of every game we prayed with them, and we didn't necessarily understand like what they were saying because different language, but Matt was able to translate for us. And one time, one of the prayers, they just started like reciting a bunch of stuff like all together, and all of us Americans are just sitting there like, we have no idea what you're saying. No idea what you're saying. But he told us that it was a psalm that they recite before every game and after every game. So that was really cool, getting to bond with them. And then the second to last day we went to, this is probably like my coolest story that I have. So the second to last day, we all were splitting up into 2 groups to go to 2 different orphanages. And one of the orphanages was just a regular orphanage, and the other one was a special needs orphanage, and it only had about 6 kids in it maybe, but it was a really small little house that they were all in. And the cool thing about that orphanage is the lady that was running it, she started it because she went to the hospital, and she went to this room, this dark room, where all these babies who were disabled or had something wrong with them after birth were not wanted, and they were put in a room to die. They were just put in a separate room and left there to die. And once they were dead, then they could get rid of them, because people don't want disabled kids there. Like, they had nothing to do with them. Like, they were just kind of like outcasts. And this lady had like so much love that she was like, okay, I'll take them. I want all of them. I want every single one of them, and I will raise them on my own. So it's an orphanage, but no one really comes to get them, because in Haiti, you don't want kids like that. So half of us went there and half of us went to the other one. And so my coach had kind of like signed me up on his own to go to the special needs orphanage, and I was like, okay, like, I'm kind of awkward when it comes to these things, but my whole thing was God's trying to push me out of my comfort zone. Like, I just need to step out of my comfort zone in order to like serve God. And but then they had told us before, they're like, if you don't want to go to this, like if you're having any second thoughts, like you should not go. Like, it's a very heart-wrenching thing that you shouldn't go to, and if you're having doubts, like just don't go. Like, nobody will be hurt. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna tell him. So I told him that I wasn't gonna go, and I felt really bad about that, because I really wanted something that was gonna, you know, push me out there, put me out of my comfort zone. And so we went to the orphanage, and I showed up, and it was just a normal day, like playing with the kids. I actually met a girl who had the same name as me, and she found out, like all her friends went and told her, and she came over and she like gave me a kiss on the cheek, and she like didn't leave me all day long. But then halfway through the day, like right before lunch, the boys and the girls split up to go do their own little kind of worship thing. So half of us girls went with the boys and half of us went with the girls. And I went with the girls, and they were just in this tiny, tiny little room, like singing their hearts out, these just hymns. But I didn't know any of them because they were in a different language. So I was just sitting there enjoying all of them being happy. And remember, I'm at the end of my trip, so I'm like, I want to go home. Like, I am so tired, like, and I miss my family and I miss my home, and I'm getting homesick. And in the middle of me thinking all that, they start singing this song that I knew, because it sounds like a song that we sing. So I'm listening to it and I'm like, I know this song. I know this song. I know this song. And it hit me, and it was the song Trust and Obey. And the cool thing about hearing that is a week before I left for Haiti is when I got baptized. And the song that the congregation sang when I got out of the water was Trust and Obey. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, no way. They're just singing the song that that was sang to me when I got baptized. And I just started crying, because I was like, I'm here in a third world country helping these people, but knowing that I have a home to go back to. And I'm scared because I'm here, and I'm scared because I'm in a country, but I have perfect security in knowing that I'm going to go back to a good home, when these kids who don't have parents, who don't know if they're going to get food the next day, are singing about trusting and obeying God. And I can barely, make it through the end of the week knowing I'm going to get back home just fine. So it was probably the coolest story that I had from that whole trip. Just like the biggest lesson, like trusting God, trusting and obeying Him, to have the faith of a child, the way that children trust in God every day. Like, that's just kind of something that I think about. Like, if I'm having any trouble at all, I'm like, okay, just think back to those kids and those smiles on their faces, just like the joy they got in singing to Him and learning about Him. And I can't even find joy in the fact that I have 2 feet that work. I think actually before the orphanage, Matt's kids were a really big impact, because I think Luke is 10 and Silas is 6, and like they've been to America. They have family there. They lived there before they came to Haiti, but Matt was telling us whenever they go to America, they're like, when are you going back home? When are you going back to Haiti? Like, they don't like it there. They like love Haiti. They love the simplicity of it, and I just think it's really cool to see like how much people just enjoy each other's company there. Yeah. Like, even when we got there and we were driving there from the airport, Like you see all these people just like on the side, they like it's dirty and it's kind of the slums, but like they just look like the happiest people ever. And they just find so much joy in each other's company and each other's like love for God. And like most people think of Haiti as like, oh, voodoo. Voodoo's really strong there. But we got to talk to people there and they're like, I couldn't tell you one person that even practices voodoo here. You're either Christian or you're not, but you don't practice voodoo. Like it's just weird. And then there's another thing too. The first week we got to play pickup games with men from Fort Liberty that knew Matt, because Matt speaks fluent in the language there, and he played soccer too. So he got to know the men that lived there, and after each little pickup game that we'd have, we'd probably play for like 2 hours. And then at the end, one of the girls would stand up and give their testimony, and Matt would translate for her. But then one of the men that were there would give his testimony. And my coach went there 4 years ago and said that one of the men who gave their testimony, it was kind of cool to see because 4 years ago, he was the guy messing around in the back while people talked and didn't care about scripture or anything. But when we were talking about our testimony, he was telling people to, hey, cut it out, like be quiet. Like they're talking, you need to listen. And at the end of the whole week, Matt told us, every single day that you guys were there giving testimonies, the local pimp was sitting right there listening to you guys. And you guys were giving all your testimonies to this guy who usually wants nothing to do with it, but he kept coming back to hear you guys.